Good day and welcome back to another DB Legends video. In this video we're going to discuss how new players should go around starting their DB Legends accounts and their progression guide on how to really get going and some tips on what to do as a new player. Now the first and most important thing to do as a new player is to do the story/quest mode. Not only is it a huge source of chrono crystals for you as a new player, but also it is crucial to obtaining the free-to-play unit Shallot. Shallot is not the most OP unit in the game, but he has a ton of early usage and he's just really good for some of your starting setup teams. He gives you the Saiyan category as well as also boosting the HP of the Saiyan category, so it's just really advisable basically that you consider running him on your teams and using him as best you can. To progress through story though, you might find that you need to fill up your team. Now obviously it's going to depend a little bit on what you do, but one of the best ways to fill up your team is with original series characters. Now there are three main original series characters that you should consider using. So those are the Raditz, Nappa and Vegeta, who are all fairly useful overall. Now getting these units does help, but I would say not all of them are, strictly speaking, crucial towards proper in-game development. You don't need to have all three of them at the very beginning. Your best bet is probably going to be to just essentially get one of them, mainly being Raditz due to his Saiyan health buff. But yeah, that is pretty much it. So very simple. Grab yourself Raditz from the original series. So get Raditz right off the bat. It's very easy to get. You don't need to Zenkai all of these guys. You'll see I still haven't Zenkai'd them. I've gotten their Zenkai power, but that's for missions, but you don't need to do that in the beginning. Just grab them as units, mainly for the Z boost that you'll get. Alongside that as well, the other avenue to increasing your early power is to do the Let's Go Legions event. Not only will this give you 3 strict teams with boost units and effective sparking characters, but it's also going to give you a Legends Limited Summon ticket. So while you get Shallot and you start working, your next step with all your other characters is going to be to do the Let's Go Legends event. You can have a bit more of an in-depth guide on this from me, with it being essentially a pretty straightforward procedure. You do stage 1, you get a key, you use that key to go to the special missions, you unlock the special missions for each category of team. For the first team that you want to do, you want to do the Saiyan team. The reason you want to do the Saiyan team is quite simple. You get Shallot and continuously upgrade him through the story, and the Saiyan team is the one you're going to be able to mesh the most with your original series characters and the free-to-play ultras that you can farm. So it's definitely super important that you consider getting these guys ASAP. Once you have completed the Let's Go Legends events, to the point where you at least have the Saiyan Saga team, your next step is going to be to consider, remember this whole time you're continuously doing quest mode, the next step you're going to want to consider is the ultras. Now out of the ultras, the process is very simple, but I do highly suggest you start with the Saiyan ultras first. The Saiyan ultras obviously serve double purpose. So the Saiyan ultras effectively kind of run mainly as Goku and as Vegeta. Both of them are Saiyan leads, which is obviously super helpful if you're looking to play a Saiyan team to start off your account. But while you're doing the ultras, there's also this Goku Legend event. This gives you a team of Gokus. This is a great backup team, one that will be able to help you out a ton, not only because you obviously are creating a pool of Saiyans to pull from, but because at the beginning you are mainly looking at grabbing yourself as many different characters as possible, and a team of Gokus that supports a team of Gokus and has event exclusive buffs is going to be very useful, and we'll see why a bit later. But yes, for now you want to focus on getting the ultras. Bear in mind a couple of things though. Ultra characters in general do have the essential ability to obviously run their own kind of functionality. So for me, you do need to kind of understand that just because you're running ultras does not mean that you are essentially able to just dominate everything. Alright. Once you have a whole bunch of characters ready, once you have a team ready, your next bet's going to be looking at working on equipment. Now, working on equipment is something that you should do just in general, because the thing is, when working on equipment, one of the things that's super important is obviously filling out your roster. Now, if you're filling out your roster with equipment, there's a couple important things you need to understand. In the beginning of the game, don't panic too much about having perfect equipment. The main big boosts for power for your characters in the beginning of the game is going to be soul boosting them and leveling them. So rather make sure that all of your Gokus you picked up, all of your Ultra units you picked up, and your Shallot that you picked up are going to be characters that you have soul boosted. This is going to be very, very, very important. Once they're all soul boosted, then you can look at working on your equipment specifically. Equipment is something that does help out, but being max level and being soul boosted ultimately is going to be far more important overall than anything else. So I do highly suggest that you work on that. So now that you are working on your equipment, now that you have somewhat of a team put together made of the free-to-play characters, what's next? Well, like I said, picking up equipment is important, soul boosting and training is important, but participating in the events to build up currency is also going to be very important. There's a couple of things that you can only really get from kind of participating in the live events. One of your first steps that you should always do when you are starting the game and you have built up this roster of free-to-play units is to then go to the recommended section and starting to complete events there. In terms of what events to look out for, there are a couple of highlighted ones that will always help you out, especially as a new player, and are crucial to you doing the co-op/online component of content. If you go to the recommended section of events, generally speaking, 9 times out of 10, you tend to have an event called a fierce fight. So why is a fierce fight event important? Well, a fierce fight event is very important because it does a couple of things. Firstly, the fierce fight event does this really, really awesome thing where it gives you a character that's effective in things like raids. So it's very, very important. It allows you to effectively, run this character in raids or hyperdimensional co-op or anything like that. And this character, generally speaking, has a big boost of damage. So what this does is this allows you to clear that content relatively easily. This is why the fierce fight / event characters are so important. As a new player, unless you summon for characters, you'll struggle to get battle bonus characters right off the bat. So being able to kind of source a free-to-play variant is very important and helpful for you, as it's going to enable you to participate in content quite quickly. Now when it comes to what you should do as a new player, summoning is very important. Do not be scared to summon as a new player. There are so many chrono crystals that you'll be able to receive as a new player that, realistically speaking, there's nothing wrong with summoning on the very first banner you see. Just bear in mind that some banners are a lot better than others, and that of course when you join in the game, if you're joining in something like now, like the anniversary, there's a huge incentive to summon on a ton of banners that have a lot of value, whereas in other times you might be summoning on banners that don't have a lot of value. I would say keep an eye out more for Legends Limited banners, more so than trying to run on Ultra banners. Ultra banners don't feature the best collection of units and generally feature only one strong unit. Summoning on Legends Limited banners or Legends Limited rerun banners are a bit of a better bet for newer players because it enables you to have a roster of slightly better Legends Limited characters that you can get to fill out your box. So once you are summoning and collecting units, the very next step is building your teams. And at the end of the day, once you're at this point, the only thing that you can do is really kind of get involved in Legends. But there are a couple of tips and tricks that you can follow to kind of get more chrono crystals, either for summons or to just improve your general application of the game. So the first thing in terms of tips and tricks that I will say is look under the special events section. Not only are there the Legends Road events, which give a ton of chrono crystals as well as give you some useful free-to-play characters, but there are also some other events like the Zero Mortals plan that drop a ton of chrono crystals. There's also the Family Kamehameha event, which will give you a free Legends Limited Goten, as well as also some very useful Gohan and Broly units. And of course, as well, like I mentioned, there are also other super useful events that you should look to complete. So go to the special section. It's just always a section that has a lot of usability, I find, that a lot of players don't count out. Next, raids and hyperdimensional co-op have a limited time attempts. You can only do them 3 times per day. Make sure that you do this always. As a new player, this is going to be a big source of resources for you, so don't be scared. Max level that free-to-play character from the Fierce Fight and go crazy. From then on, the only thing holding you back is then summonable units and equipment. This is kind of like endgame, and it can be difficult to get into. Start with the basics. Build a team of units that all benefit from the same Z-boost, and start plugging away at rated PvP. Don't try to have the perfect team before you go in here. The earlier ranks are really quite easy to deal with, and you get a ton of rewards from it. But that's it. That's how you start a Legends account. I hope this is giving you some help, and I'll see you next time.